Welcome to episode 124 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We're recording live on Google Hangouts on Air, or YouTube, I guess, on December 10, 2015. We will be taking the next 2 weeks off, so happy holidays to you and yours. We will see you on January 10 when we return after a holiday break. But we always start after the worst story of the week, and BL always has the honors. So, BL, what was the worst?
Well, I thought the worst thing that I saw all week was there was an ad agency called Anomaly, and they did a video that they bill as a social experiment in Britain, and they asked kids their thoughts, little kids, 5, 6, maybe 7, and they asked them if Santa was a woman, could she do the job? And granted, maybe kids aren't really great at reasoning out stuff like this, but other than this one kid who really got it, it was fairly horrifying because they were sure that a woman couldn't do Santa's job. She had to feed the baby, she wouldn't be able to bring the toys, and really stuff you wouldn't think that would come out of their mouths, and it did. And there was one kid going, I think maybe the Lady Santa would be the strongest woman in the world. And I was like, yes, I like you. But, the rest of them were, no, she couldn't do it. No, I don't think so. And they how one listens to the other, to the other, to the other. So as soon as it started to be negative, like everybody was negative except this one boy, which was my favorite. I thought that was pretty sad stuff, though, and appropriate because it's holidays.
Well, you also think about it. You don't see Santa as portrayed than anything other than a male. So it's hard for kids to imagine. I think Santa in as a female too. That might play into it as well.
I don't know, but this week in the magazine The Week, they had a story about all the different Santas that there are in the world. And, there's one who is a devil and he's going to take you down to hell if you weren't a good kid. Well, I forget his name. And there's some really scary Santas. So we're lucky we grew up with the one we have. Even if it's got to be a man.
Yeah. One role that many people can visualize a woman in is President of the United States. And of course, we've got Hillary Clinton running for office, and they had the Democratic debates last night. And the Democratic debates opened with an apology by Bernie Sanders for a major snafu his campaign has been embroiled in over the past couple of days. This is from a Washington Monthly story by David Atkins. And it is the best story that I've read about this controversy because it explains sort of the technical details of what went on. So if you haven't heard, you probably have. Sanders' campaign staffers were caught kind of red-handed snooping on data from the Clinton campaign's voter records. The Democratic National Committee maintains the database of voters that's available to all campaigns. They contract with a company called NGP Van to maintain the system, and the system is sort of built on 1990s era technology, so it's a little creaky, and it's been known to fail. Their firewall is set up because the database is available to all campaigns. Their firewall is set up so that one campaign can't see another campaign's data, but those firewalls have been known to fail, and they've been sort of dependent upon the honor system when those fail. But the firewalls are obviously crucial to the campaigns maintaining a level playing field among the candidates. But in this case, the firewalls failed, and the Sanders campaign was caught snooping on Clinton campaign data. Now, the thing to remember is that with all digital communications, everything is tracked. So this was obviously going to become public, right? There are ways that you can, within the system, you can save searches. So you search for a given query, and you can save that query to repeat that search without having to recreate the query, but you can also create lists. And it is the lists that are indicative of, so the Bernie Sanders campaign was claiming, well, we were just investigating the breach and trying to figure out what happened. But they were creating lists. There are multiple people saying it. The Bernie Sanders campaign said there was only one staffer involved. Turns out there are many more. And they were creating lists, and the lists are indicative of intent to use the data, right? So
well, why would you need lists otherwise? Yeah.
Right. So they were like, they didn't actually download data. You need special access to do that. So they didn't download data, but there's a lot of things you can learn from lists. So if you're looking at Clinton's list, you can see who they're targeting, how many people they've got tagged as like strong Clinton supporters, for instance.
Not to mention that you can record the screen while you're doing that.
That's right. That's right. So it's kind of a question of, we don't know exactly what happened, exactly who knew what, if the communications people were lying about what happened, or if they were told something by the tech people, and the tech people are covering their tracks, which seems kind of logical. Anyway, Debbie Wasserman Schultz is the head of the DNC, and she suspended access to the Sanders campaign because of the data breach.
And they let him back in.
It's the prudent thing to do. You need to determine the extent of the data and what happened and everything, if for no other reason, to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But the Sanders campaign responded by saying that they were going to go to federal court to regain access. That seemed to me a PR ploy to try to change the subject, right? Change and portray yourself as a victim. But they got caught red-handed, and it resulted in the problem for the Sanders campaign is it was a massive ethical breach, if nothing else.
Right, but I would bet that he would be the last person who would know about that. Like he demanded that they do that. I think that somebody on the staff had this brilliant idea that we're going to do this, that popped up and, oh, look, let's do this. And, he'd be the last to know. And he apologized, and she forgave him, and she said it. I don't think the American people are going to care about this. And let's move forward. And I thought she handled it very gracefully.
Oh, absolutely. And I agree. I think Bernie Sanders probably did not know about it. But it is contrary to the brand of Bernie Sanders, which is everybody has to play by the rules and everying, and he's kind of running a holier-than-thou campaign. So when something like this happens,
I like him. I like him a lot, and he's funny, and he's the only one in the whole campaign with a sense of humor.
Well, I don't know about that. Hillary Clinton left with her final speech
with Star Wars. Yeah.
May the force be with you, those kids.
Yeah, so anyway, that was cool. So
it's a cautionary tale. Whatever you do online is recorded.
Yeah, exactly, by somebody who can get you. Well, they can't get you by looking in Topsy anymore, because this is a story from Reuters, Angela Moon and Melissa Farris, and Topsy was a terrific Twitter tool. And right now, if you go to Topsy.com, it sends you to Apple support. And this is the thing, this happens over and over again. Apple acquired Topsy in December 2013 for more than $200 million. And it's kind of an odd purchase for a hardware-focused company that really is not involved in social networking. And an Apple spokesman wouldn't really say anything about it. And again and again it happens. Yahoo screws up the things that they buy. Google screws up the things that they buy. Twitter does it. That everybody but Facebook seems to be screwing up and why would you spend $200 million for something that you don't want? I don't get it.
Apple continues to give me reasons not to like them. I was dismayed seeing that headline, because it was such a great tool.
It was a wonderful tool, but I'm not in love with Google at the moment either, frankly. So the other, talking about like data breaches and problems, Ticketmaster site had a big problem. This from a Fast Company story by Neil Ungerleider. And what happened was that they released all of Adele's North American tour tickets at once, and the demand was so great that the site and the back end crashed, and fans went on Twitter, and they were all angry. And you have to be careful about what you're doing when you're dealing on a massive scale with things like a political campaign or Adele, who's at least as big as any of the candidates,
Well, Well, maybe Ticketmaster could have improved the performance of their website, but not charging so many outrageous fees for their tickets.
Exactly. Just sell us the freaking ticket and without all the fees. Yeah, I agree with that. Do you have more bad news? Because we got a lot of good news.
I have. This is amusing news, but it's also it's slotted in the bad. But it's kind of hilarious. This is from a Mashable story by Johnny Liu. It's about an anti-marijuana PSA campaign
That is so funny.
run by the Australian state of New South Wales. So there's a series of videos produced by New South Wales Department of Premier and Cabinet, whatever that is. And it's an anti-marijuana PSA campaign with a tagline, "You're worse on weed." It portrays teenage sloths in different characters. So one is Delilah, and she's in the classroom, and she's a sloth. She's got these huge claws, as sloths do. And the teacher is giving a test, and the teacher wants all the students to hand in the test, and Delilah hands in her paper, and it's blank. It's blank. And she's like, "Groo." She's making these growing sounds throughout the whole thing.
It went viral, but not for the reasons they wanted it to.
The classmate shakes her head and says, "Stoner sloth." And then the tagline is, "You're worse on weed," with a hashtag Stoner Sloth. There's
the one at the dinner table.
The one at the dinner table. Jason is at the dinner table, and he's spaced out. He's completely stoned out of his mind, obviously. His mother asks him to pass the salt, and he passes the salad instead of the salt and starts growing and looking stoned. Although I can sympathize with Jason a little bit because, I mean, a salad bowl is a lot easier to pass than a salt shaker when you've got these huge claws, right? How do you hold on to a salt shaker like that? There's some friends chatting at a party, and one of the friends turns to Dave and says, "What do you think, Dave?" And Dave goes, "Groo." And Dave's spaced out in this friend.
They're awful costumes too. I mean,
Stoner sloth. Maybe he's depressed because he's a sloth and he can't speak English. So they've got GIFs, they've got videos they've created a Tumblr page and a Facebook page to drive shares of these videos. But many of the comments on Facebook are questioning the legitimacy of the spots. Because
they're parody videos now that are more funny than this is really. I mean, they're hilarious.
The people who are commenting on Facebook were unclear whether they were satire or not, but they're legit. The Australian department sent a statement that's saying, "Yeah, we're behind it." But this is what happens when you market products that you don't have any experience.
Really? I remember when I was in college, and the FBI, I guess they were, I don't know who they were, drug enforcement, whoever they were, they came and they talked to our class, and they had that video, Reefer Madness, that's from like the 1940s, and they said, if you're gonna smoke dope, the next thing you know, you'll be sitting around and somebody will say, "Let's go knock off a gas station," and the next thing you know, you'll be robbing the gas station. And we're all sitting there going, "No, that would never happen." Nobody'd ever be able to do that when they were stoned.
I wouldn't have enough gumption to do it.
I mean, you just wouldn't want to.
Stoner sloth.
You couldn't possibly drive in that costume.
Yeah, so I think the approach you should have for these types of PSAs is just be realistic, because kids see right through it.
Well, I do think that driving while impaired on any kind of drugs, pot included, is a big issue. And if they wanted to talk about that, and not with sloths, but just talk about how it does in fact slow down your responses. And if you're high on whatever, alcohol, pot, whatever, you really shouldn't be behind the wheel. And that makes sense to me. But sloths, no. So you have another one that's in the bad category?
Yeah, so I'm going to, so there's the quick one. There's 17 W2F Photoshop fails of 2015. This is a good list by a website called orzabunjaziz.com. It shows some really ridiculous Photoshop fails, one of which is a Victoria's Secret model who is missing a butt cheek for a Facebook photo that Victoria's Secret posted.
Sad thing to lose.
Yeah, There's another Victoria's Secret model who has missing nipples for an Instagram photo. So they've got like an open shirt thing, and there's bizarrely no nipples on the woman's breast. So
and what's the deal with George Bush?
George Bush. There's a campaign photo of George Bush, and he's got his hands, on his hips and everything. His left hand is black. What?
That was somebody's joke, I'm sure. It was like one of those Easter eggs that you find in programs,
Yeah. So
and you do have one more, and it is hilarious. So tell us about that.
This one is hilarious and sad. North Carolina town has banned solar farms because they're afraid it would suck up the sun.
Right, because there's not enough of that to go around.
So, from a Roanoke Show and News Herald article by Keith Hogard, the Woodland Town Council rejected a proposal to rezone a section of land manufacturing from residential, from land, a section of land from manufacturing to I'm doing it backwards, from residential agricultural to manufacturing use. Essentially denying approval of a solar farm. The planning board had recommended property be rezoned to allow Strata Solar Company to build solar farms on this parcel of land. So solar farm companies are seeking placement around Woodland because it has an electrical substation nearby, so they can get access to the electrical grid to deposit the energy the solar farms generate, right? Later in the meeting, the town council voted for a complete moratorium on solar farms. During the public comment section, citizens expressed distrust and fear of the solar panels. Some citizens started a petition to put future solar panel proposals on a referendum so that citizens could decide. Some citizens complained about the panels, what the panels might do for land values. I mean, that's a legitimate complaint. Many people have for local stuff. But a retired Northampton science teacher was concerned that photosynthesis, which depends upon sunlight, would not happen and would keep the vegetation from growing from around the solar panel. She said that she has observed areas near the solar panel where vegetation is brown and dead because it did not receive enough sunlight. So her argument is that the solar panels are sucking up all the sunlight and allowing the plants to die nearby. She also said the high number of cancer deaths in the area, saying that no one could tell her that solar panels didn't cause cancer. But, it's a small, old town. So maybe the ratio of older people who are most likely to have cancer is higher in your town.
Well, maybe they prefer fracking in their town to solar energy.
Yeah. Another resident said the solar farms would suck up all the energy from the sun and businesses would not come to Woodland. So this is what happens when
you're stupid.
When you frown on education, and when
you burn books in the library.
Intellectualism is considered a negative. Yeah, oh my God.
So that brings us to better news. So Google has a video. They have a web site with lists that I didn't think was as interesting, but they have a video about what people searched for in 2015. And the lists of the most searched for items are pretty banal, but in the video, they got to what we really did care about in the past year. And I think it's really well done. It's worth a look. So we'll have the link in the show notes. I think the your year on Facebook was pretty lame this time. I mean, if I was to look at Facebook, all I did this year was hang out with my dog and post a picture of my mother when she died. I mean, I don't think that was my year. But anyway, Google's video is worth watching. They'll tell you what actually happened.
Yeah, I think they do a good job with that every year, the video. Because and you're right, the list of search terms are fairly.
So celebrities, who cares, I mean, I sure don't care what celebrities or what the Kardashians did this year, but we're in the minority if we don't. So you have more good news, Dave?
Yeah, so Facebook is testing a Yelp killer. This is from a Gizmodo article by Mario Aguilar. And Facebook is testing a new unannounced tool that allows you to search for all kinds of services in your area. You can see it at facebook.com/services, and it's basically a search interface that allows you to type in keyword searches and then it's based around your own location. So it's a desktop-only search service, and it's fairly bare bones location-based search this time. The main portal has listings of about 100 business types that you might ordinarily need to look up. But Facebook can differentiate itself from the Yelps of the world by showing you reviews and ratings from people that you're actually connected to on Facebook, because they've got those connection data built in, right? So you can actually get, rather than reviews from strangers like you get from Yelp, you can get reviews from people that you know. So interesting development there.
I'm quite convinced that Facebook wants to take the useful features that Google Plus has now taken away and incorporate them into Facebook, because Google Plus did a lot of things right. And those features, like local business listings and reviews, have been removed from the business pages of Google Plus. And so now you're going to find them in Facebook. It's really sad to me what has happened to Google Plus. Fusion is it's a millennial-focused joint media venture between Disney and the Spanish-language broadcaster Univision, and they're getting into virtual reality, and they are going to use it to send you to Mars 2030, and it's an immersive interactive experience that's going to simulate an actual manned mission to Mars, and it's going to debut at South by Southwest this year in 2016. And they're working with NASA and MIT Space Labs to create the experience of the proposed mission to Mars, and it's going to be based on real data and simulate real technologies that are currently being developed. And there's an MIT grad student named Sydney Doe who will contribute research, and there's going to be a series of mini missions that simulate the things that the real-life astronauts are going to face on Mars habitat and on the planet's surface. So I wish we could go,
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool.
Do the show from Mars. Wouldn't that be cool?
Nice. Yeah. I've got two related stories that demonstrate some of the cool stuff and good stuff and stuff that Google does well. This is the first one is Google's ability to predict traffic. This is from a Business Insider story by Tim Stenovec. And Google's now able to understand traffic jams in real time. So if it notices a traffic jam, if you're using Google, and I use Google Maps all the time to give me directions to where I'm going, it will recognize that there's a traffic jam up ahead and reroute you around it. And so how is Google so good at doing that? They've got huge sets of data from iPhone and Android users. And that data allows Google to analyze the number of cars, how fast they're going on a road at any given time. Google, you think about it, Google has the advantage over Apple Maps and MapQuest, competitors like that, simply due to the sheer volume of data that they have. They've got historical data now that allows them to spot aberrations from typical traffic patterns, which allows them to tell if there's a traffic jam up ahead. They also get accident reports from Waze users, which they bought for $1 billion in 2013, and that data is being incorporated in Google Maps. Google also gets data from local departments of transportation, so they can even tell when there's a marathon happening in a city, because there's a large group of people moving faster than people usually move, and there's no cars on the road. So from that, they can tell you that there's a marathon going on. So that's very cool. Coupled with this following story, which is Google's use of self-driving cars.
I was going to say, they better be able to tell what's going on the road if the cars aren't going to have drivers.
Exactly, yes. So this is another story from Business Insider by Jonathan Camille. Google will use self-driving cars to compete with Uber. So we've been thinking about Google's self-driving cars as a consumer-oriented product, but Perhaps not. Google's self-driving project will spin off next year into its own business, and it will compete directly with Uber. Rather than selling self-driving cars to consumers, Google will offer a ride-sharing service a ride-hailing service similar to Uber with its self-driving cars, according to a Bloomberg report. Asset management firm ARK Invest estimated earlier this year that self-driving cars would cut the cost of Uber rides to only 25 cents per mile, which would make it them more affordable than owning a car. So in addition to competing with Uber, it has the potential of disrupting the complete auto market. In the last 6 years, cars equipped with Google self-driving software have driven more than 1 million miles on the road, and that means Google software has more experience handling real-world obstacles in situations on the road than any other companies. They got an enormous head start on everybody else, and add to that all the traffic data and algorithms that we discussed in the previous story, and Google's got a massive head start on the self-driving car Uber competition thingy.
Well, it might take something like that to finally solve traffic problems in cities like New York. I mean, you can tell people take public transportation, you can make it available to them, but you can't make them use it. So, if it becomes more affordable, I mean, now to cross from New Jersey to New York, the toll for the Lincoln Tunnel for a car is $14. And, that's a lot of money if you have to do that every day. But if you could rideshare, you can rideshare from some towns for $1 into Manhattan, so that's going to be very disruptive and I think very cool in the end effect, but too bad for the auto industry.
And we haven't even discussed the human fatalities due to traffic accidents. I mean,
yeah,
it's the whole other issue that would be.
Well, I don't think there's going to be any hit and runs from driverless cars. Yeah. So I found something just wonderful. My friend Ed Miller from Wild West Graphics in Lake Tahoe sent me this, and the Truckee Police Department, who are pretty cool. They're on Twitter and they're on Facebook, and they did a Star Wars takeoff video to tell people to drive safely, because in Tahoe right now they already have 6 feet of snow, and so they have a wonderful video. It's short, it's sweet, it's funny, and it's just all about being careful on the road. But where do you find a police department with a sense of humor these days? So I think that's pretty cool. I believe that this is going to bring us to shiny new objects. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so I have found a bunch, and I think you did too. And I really love what I saw at the Hopscotch Hour of Code app. It's integrated with YouTube videos, and it's really easy to use, but it's really powerful, and it lets you explore the fundamentals like abstraction and variables and conditionals and loops and a lot more while you're making games and little apps that you would actually want to use. It's very cool, and it's free. Yeah, it really is. And then I just have a link to 17 of the best royalty-free stock photo sites worth noting.
Very good. Speaking of photography, I've got a Yahoo News. Yahoo released Flickr app for Samsung Gear VR headset. So this is from a TechCrunch story by Drew Olenoff. And Flickr has 15 billion photos it hosts from people having uploaded their photos to Flickr. Tens of thousands of them are 360-degree photos. So Yahoo's released an app to view those photos using Samsung's Oculus Gear VR headset, which is one of the hottest consumer electronic gifts this season. The app launches, when you launch the app, it launches with a carousel of curated photos, among them an Aurora Borealis in Finland, the Horseshoe Bend of the Colorado River in Arizona. But how cool to be able to view Flickr photos that way, in 360 degrees. And another sort of VR-related one, Star Wars is the big thing right now. I haven't seen it yet, can't wait to see it, but Disney has released a Star Wars app called the Jakku Spy app for cardboard. And it allows you, the point of the app is you want to find the BB-8, that little round droid. as you explore Jakku in 360 degrees, which is a location that's featured in the film too. So another cool virtual reality app, another cool movie marketing app that we can add to the list. And then finally, WordPress has released desktop apps. This is from a NeoWin story by Andy Weir. In November, WordPress.com released an app for the Mac. Now they've released a Windows version of that. The features allow you to manage multiple sites, whether WordPress.com or your self-hosted WordPress, using the Jetpack plugin. Its features include auto backup of your sites, auto plugin updates. The new WordPress.com editor has in-app previewing and draft auto-saving. The reader lets you follow and read your favorite sites. It has a new Discover feature, which recommends outstanding content from across all of WordPress. You have insights and stats in the app, so you can see exactly how your site and your posts are performing. And then in-app notifications, so you can see comments, likes, and new followers all in one place. So cool new software there.
Very cool. Google did a fun Star Wars thing this week. That was for the Google Cardboard, that where you chose whether you were going to be on the dark side or the light side, and then you used the cardboard to move the laser, and it was fun. That was a couple hours. Playing the game. I also came across a quick and dirty photo editor called Enlight, and it's kind of part Photoshop Professional photo tweaking software, but it's very clear, because Photoshop sure isn't, and it lets you apply a lot of the very complicated effects like image color curves and reducing noise, and it's $4, but it's powerful, it's easy to use. And I also came across something that I thought was kind of interesting to use at a presentation or at an event. It's called Visible Tweets, and what it does is basically it's a screensaver featuring your tweets, and so it brings them in live as you're, maybe standing in front of it or at an event, and it's just kind of cool visualization, and you can make it into word clouds as well as the actual tweets, and then it can make them go around in circles, and it does fun things, but it's kind of a cool live screensaver.
Very nice. Very nice.
That's free.
Oh, cool. Well, social media related, I've got a project. I was quoted in a top 20 social media trends for 2016 article by on Bitly, and my trend was more that live video streaming explodes next year, because Facebook is introducing it to everyone now, and they've also just came up they're introducing it for brand pages as well. So I think that's going to blow up. Blab, of course, is super popular, and now Facebook's on board. Everybody's going to be doing it, I think.
Oh, I'm doing a Blab on Monday, by the way. I forgot to put that in the notes. Interviewing Clark Clay, and he's an entrepreneur who has his own online school. It's going to be at 4:00 on Monday afternoon. I'll post that in Twitter and so on. But he's an interesting guy. He owns 9 different businesses and he's written like all these different books, and he has very well-known people teaching classes, and so I think it'll be a fun interview.
Very cool. Put a link to that in the show notes as well. So, ready to wrap it up for the daily numbers and wrap up 2015 with the daily numbers. Adoption of technology, 1900 to present. This is from Business Insider. A lot of Business Insider stuff this week. It's a chart that I found based on the data from Asmaco. I don't know who they are, but the chart is fascinating because it shows how quickly technology is adopted these days. So telephone adoption takes gradual. TV adoption is gradual over many, many years. But when you get closer to the present, the adoption curve is not gradual; it's straight up. So smartphones, tablets, HD TVs, social media—they're all straight up. They're just adopted immediately in the historical context. The point in the article accompanying this graph, though, is that people are adopting new technologies more quickly at the swiftest pace ever, in fact, since the advent of television. But while television arguably distracted people from U.S. productivity, today's advances in technology are generally geared towards greater efficiency at lower costs, or the technologies we're adopting are making us more productive, basically.
And making us addicted to them as well.
Yeah, kind of goes with the territory.
I mean, I will tell you that I am addicted to Twitter. I really am. I know I am because I look at it when I wake up in the morning. I look at Twitter. You know, before I do anything else, I see what happened on Twitter while I was sleeping. Anyway, we'll be back, and we're trying something new. We're giving you options at how to watch the show. So you can either watch it on YouTube, or if you can find it, good luck if you can, on the event page on Google+. And what we really like you to do is watch it on our website, beyondsocialmediashow.com. So you will be able to see it in all three of those places. And we're going to try a hangout wrapper called Business Hangouts as well, until we find what is the best thing for everybody involved and the easiest thing for us. The technology is changing rapidly for us, and it's it's getting better in many ways, but we have to keep up with it. So that's what we're trying to do. And Dave, how about telling them where to find us?
You can find us on beyondsocialmediashow.com/124 for all the show notes for this episode. If you want to give us a shout out and give us some love, you can do that at beyondsocialmediashow.com/love, where you'll find links to our iTunes and our Stitcher page, where you can leave a review. You can find me on Twitter at @DErickson. My blog is e-strategyblog.com. I also blog at my agency's blog at creativepr.com/blog. BL you can find on Twitter at What's Next. Her blog is what'snextblog.com. You can find her at Maximum-Plus, where you can hire her for all things video marketing and online events. The show you can find, again, at beyondsocialmediashow.com. Our Twitter handle is bsmediashow. Subscribe to the newsletter so you don't miss an episode, especially since we're so hard to find on Google Plus now that Google has changed everything up. You can do that at beyondsocialmediashow.com/newsletter, where you'll get exclusive content. You won't miss an episode, so definitely subscribe and spread the love to anybody who you think will be interested in the podcast. Give them that link as well. Until next year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We wish you all the greatest success and health and happiness, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.